Hello, I'm Sam Garrett for Express FM, and I'm joined this morning by Colin Farmery. How are we this morning, Colin?
I'm very well, Sam.
So, Colin, in April this year, it became official that the Portsmouth Supporters Trust had completed a deal to buy Portsmouth Football Club, which saw the club exit administration and become the largest fan-owned club in English football history. How did it feel to finally achieve such a feat?
Well, it was a very emotional occasion, if I'm absolutely honest. You know, it had been a long struggle. It had taken about 18 months to actually get the project to fruition since obviously we went into administration in February 2012. But yeah, it was a huge amount of work, and it was a mixture really, relief, happiness, and ultimately, you know, the fact it was a job well done.
It's certainly a beautiful moment in the history of Portsmouth Football Club, wasn't it? And what I was going to get onto was the fact that the next day after the deal was completed, there was the 18,000 crowd here at Fratton Park against Sheffield United, a promotional hopeful. They wanted to be promoted, and the fact was you actually beat them 3-0.
Yeah, no, it was an extraordinary performance, to be honest. I mean, it was literally a perfect day. You know, the sun shone. We had that fantastic ovation that kind of Ian McInnes and Ashley Brown had before the start. We went out and in the first half played as good a football as I've seen in many a year, and we won the game. You know, you couldn't make it up really. It was a fairy tale.
As I mentioned, Sheffield United, Pompey actually managed to pull off really good results against other teams that were looking to be promoted. Did this give you the confidence for the coming season, despite relegation to League Two?
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons why Guy Whittingham got the job was because I think since February or January-February time, I thought we did an extraordinary job pulling together a squad, you know, literally on buttons. You know, he was trying to put the squad together on fresh air, and some of those players are obviously still here now. So I think the fact that we you know, probably between in March and April actually had pretty much League One promotion playoff form. You know, it kind of gave us the sense that the core of players that Guy signed, plus the ones he signed on top, you know, we're hopeful that we can have a good season.
Definitely. Well, the club were ultimately given that 10-point deduction, and much to the delight of supporters, it was at the end of last season rather than this season. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I always argued that it was the right decision because the league had made it clear back in July of 2012 that the points were going to come off in the 2012-13 season, and yes, it dragged on a lot longer than we expected it to in terms of like coming out of administration. But I always argued that the effect of that points deduction was felt in the 2012-13 season, and to have carried it over to the following season would have been a perverse outcome. So I think it was the right decision.
The fair one.
Yeah.
Well, Pompey managed to sell out the Fratton end with season tickets and exceeded the 10,000 mark. Such a remarkable achievement, which no doubt week in and week out home records will record the highest attendance in League Two. This is a testament to what the club is about, what you've achieved regarding the fan ownership and the pride fans have for this very football club.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think we sold more season tickets now than actually was the top average gate in League Two last season. So yes, there are a few records going to be broken. We broke the League Two attendance record for the opening game against Oxford, and I think it's a testament to fans buying into what we're trying to do down here. You know, we've had 5 or 6 years where it's been fairly chaotic, sort of like on and off the pitch. But now we've got some stable roots. We're community owned. The football club is striving to do its business in the right way, and I think the fact that fans and local businesses and everyone else is buying into that and giving us their support, which is fantastic.
What is your current role with Portsmouth Football Club? Because before you were the spokesman of the trust.
I became the spokesperson of the trust when in August of 2012, when the bid was really kind of kicking into gear, and I did that role up until sort of like April, May time, once the bid was successful. Yeah. What I'm doing now, I've got a number of projects on the go, but one of them is that I work for the football club 1 day a week, advising them on their public relations and on their strategic communications. And I think what I'd say to fans is that there's plenty in that regard that hopefully we're going to be bringing forward in the coming sort of weeks and months, because I think ultimately what we need to do is we need to ensure we communicate well with our fans, and we need to make sure that they understand what a community club is all about, and we can show that we are what we say we are. You know, we want to be open, we want to be transparent, and strategically, you know, we need to have the communications in place to do that, and that's part of my job to try to ensure that happens.
Well, certainly that is being ensured, because Michael's doing a splendid job, you know, as the sort of communications engagements officer.
Well, I think his role as engagement manager is part of that process. His role is to go out there and speak to fans, and, you know, to be honest, I can't think of anybody better in the world at doing that job than Mike would be. And you know, we hope fans have kind of seen the difference. You know, we are not going to agree on every single matter. You know, ultimately, when you're running a football club business, which Portsmouth is, you know, a community club is going to take decisions that not every single fan agrees with. But ultimately, what you need to do is you need to see that the decision-making process was transparent, and if you do that, then I don't think really people can have any complaints.
Well, regarding fan ownership, is this something that clubs can take? Basically, is this the way forward for other clubs to take example?
Well, we like to think so. I mean, certainly at the end of last season, we had some conversations with the Coventry City Trust, because obviously they're a club that have got their own significant issues at the moment. You know, Portsmouth is the biggest community-owned club in England, and, you know, arguably in the UK as well, although I think Heart of Midlothian hopefully are about to become a community-owned club as well, which you know, we'll be delighted to see them join us, and, you know, they're probably as big a club as Pompey are north of the border. But yeah, we feel that supporter involvement in football clubs, community ownership, whether it's like the Pompey Supporters Trust as a majority owner, or whether it's a more minority stake such as Swansea City, you know, we think that every club can actually benefit from this model or a variation of it, and we see ourselves at the forefront of that movement.
Do you feel a club as high as the Premier League could basically benefit from a fan sort of ownership and keep up with the demands of the high rising costs?
Well, I'd say one thing: Swansea City. You know, Swansea City have got a 20% fan stake in them, and they are an excellent model of what can be achieved. And, you know, if in the next 10 years we can achieve half of what Swansea City have achieved here at Portsmouth, you know, we'll have done a pretty good job of it.
That's terrific. Well, I was going to get on to Coventry City actually. Just basically, they had to completely move out of the city to play in Northampton, which is Sixfields. That was a huge blow for their supporters. And what actually happened was, a few weeks ago, the majority of supporters opted to go to a charity game at the Ricoh Arena rather than actually following their team to Northampton. How important is that to keep a club playing in the actual city of where they originated?
Well, I mean, it's vital, because I mean, you know, the bottom line is that, you know, people are well aware that here at Portsmouth we had a plan B, which would have involved us playing at Havant and Waterlooville, and, you know, while that was a terrific gesture by Havant and Waterlooville, and we'll never forget, you know, how helpful they were in ensuring that kind of Portsmouth would have continued as a club. Playing out of your city wouldn't have been an ideal solution. We wouldn't have had the capacity that we've obviously got here at Fratton Park. So I think at the end of the day, you know, clubs that move out of their cities, and we've seen kind of Brighton, we've seen Charlton in the past, you know, Wimbledon to a certain extent in different sort of context. You know, what it does is it can come close to killing a club, and, you know, fortunately Charlton and Brighton have both recovered and are now sort of, you know, thriving, and Wimbledon as well, one could argue. So being rooted in your location is absolutely vital, which is why, you know, we're solidly behind the Coventry City Trust and what they're trying to do there.
Well, basically, formerly known as Wimbledon, now MK Dons, which we just spoke about, AFC Wimbledon was formed by the fans in 2002 who were totally against the idea of relocation out of South London. The fan-owned club are now in League 2. They're just a league below MK Dons. You must feel pretty delighted that, basically going back to what we said about not having to move out of the city, you must feel pretty delighted that you've managed to stay in Portsmouth, and I'm sure Fratton Park is part of the future. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, being in Portsmouth is central to the success of our project, and you know, Fratton Park is a famous old ground, and we're delighted to be here.
That's great. How important is the academy to the development of Portsmouth Football Club? Obviously, last season we saw them triumphant with a 4-2 win over Luton Town, which sealed the league for them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the academy has done a fantastic job. We've got some young players coming through at the moment who you know, even if they're not necessarily pushing for a first team place at this precise moment, I'm sure that, you know, they will be coming through in the fullness of the time, perhaps with the experience of some games out on loan. You know, developing your own players is an important thing, and it's an important thing not only because you want to, in effect, kind of like, you know, potentially make yourself a profit when you sell that player on, or create yourself a first team player that you don't need to go somewhere else and buy. But I think it's also important because, you know, kids growing up in Portsmouth, they need to have a chance to play for their hometown team, and we would like to think that any kid in Portsmouth who's got a bit of talent at football would want to come and play for the Swansea Academy.
That's all you want in your city, is to have that community vibe and obviously sign young products up. Andy Orford, who was actually the assistant manager for some time, chose to go back to the academy alongside Paul Hardiman. How important is the role they play?
Well, it's crucial. I mean, Andy and Paul obviously know Portsmouth Football Club inside out. They've served the club for many years in a variety of roles, not least players. So, you know, the fact that we've got a team here at Portsmouth, you know, the coaching staff who are people who get what Portsmouth Football Club is, and they buy into the concept of the community club, it's essential, really. Where
will the academy be playing their home games this season? Obviously, last season they had Wesley Park, Bognors Ground, and also Furs Lane. Is Furs Lane still the sort of location?
That's my understanding. Obviously, we're doing some work with the university to kind of get that training facility and home ground for the academy up together, and I don't think we're quite there yet, but I believe that's still the intention.
How important is the relationship with the local amenities, such as the university and local clubs who can possibly loan your future players?
Well, I think the thing is that we want to have a good relationship with the whole community in Portsmouth, and you know, clearly, for example, the university is a good example where we're working hard to come up with a facility that is going to be a training facility that we can be proud of, and we're confident that we're going to have that fairly soon. But you know, all businesses in Portsmouth, local football clubs, we want to have a good relationship with them. You know, we are the senior football club in the greater Portsmouth area, and we want to have good relationships with all our local clubs, and if we can have a mutually beneficial system where we loan them players, then that's got to be a good thing.
Well, lastly, what I was going to get onto was, what are the present and future sort of aims for the Trust and Portsmouth Football Club going forward?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, we want to be the best football club that we can be. We're ambitious. You know, certainly I supported Portsmouth now for over 40 years. When I started supporting Pompey, we were a club that was aspiring to be in the old First Division top flight. You know, I still support a club that I believe ought to be aspiring to be in the top flight, and I believe that we can become that as a community club.
Where realistically do you feel you can finish this season?
Well, I think, you know, Mark Catlin, the CEO, has made it clear that we've got a wage budget that will probably put us somewhere in the middle of League Two. But we're really pleased with the players that Guy's brought in. He seems to have put together a competitive squad. You know, we felt they played very well against Morecambe. You know, I think this team is still bedding down. We probably won't know till the end of September, beginning of October, exactly how good they are. But you know, I think there's a good feeling here, and we think that we can finish well up that league.
That's great. That was Colin Farmery from Portsmouth Football Club speaking to us about fan ownership and if it's the way forward. Thank you.